All right, so what if I told you that Dallas isn't just one city, but 5 completely different worlds stacked up like an onion? Today, I'm gonna walk you through a local's guide to the 5 rings of Dallas. And spoiler alert, guys, where you think you wanna live might actually be the worst decision that you can make. And if you're moving here from out of state, or even just a local tired of overpaying for a postcode with a fancy reputation, you're definitely gonna wanna hear this all the way through. Now, trust me, there's a lot of overpriced hype and hidden gems, and today, we're gonna expose both of them. Alright, so let's kick things off with the start of it all, the origin story of modern Dallas. I'm talking about Dallas proper, guys. This is where the city earned its stripes and its skyline. We're talking about neighborhoods like Highland Park, downtown, Bishop Arts, Old East Dallas, and my personal favorite for that charm, meek chic type of vibe, Lakewood, right? And all of these sit inside the first ring. This is where you'll find the soul of the city wrapped in history, culture, and some of the serious property values, right? Like starting over here with Highland Park, this isn't just a neighborhood, guys, it's a legacy. Highland Park is that old money, new luxury, and top-ranked schools all rolled into one zip code. This is where Dallas royalty lives, literally. I want you to think immaculately maintained homes with heritage. You're gonna get the designer storefronts that are gonna be tucked between tree-lined streets, and yes, folks actually do wear Rolexes to the farmer's market. But before you get your hopes up, guys, let's just keep it real. Highland Park is not for the budget conscious. This is exclusive territory. The kind of place where buying a home also means you're buying into a club of generational wealth and prestige. If you're looking for a starter home, guys, this ain't it. It ain't even for the people who are looking for that secondary house. This is for the people who have made it. But if you got the funds and you want that picture-perfect community with country club aesthetics and near zero crime, right? This is gonna be your spot. And before I forget, if this is your first time to the channel, I'm Mark with the Dallas Relocation Guide, and we help people buy, sell, and relocate right here to the Dallas metroplex. Listen, guys, there's nobody out here boots on the ground showing you the type of things that you need to see to be able to make such a big life choice for your family, moving to a completely different area. So if you're thinking about making a move, guys, feel free to reach out. All of our contact info's down in the description below and pinned to the top of the chat. All right, so now let's pivot over to Lakewood, right? Lakewood is where Dallas breathes a little bit easier. It's tucked near White Rock Lake, yes, actually nature in the middle of the city. And the vibe over here is equal parts laid back and elevated, right? I want you to think about your morning jogs under tree canopies, kids riding bikes to school, and the historic homes that don't look like they came from a builder's assembly line. This area is where you're gonna find the Tudors, the craftsman style bungalows, and the mid-century moderns, right? Each with their own story to tell. The prices are definitely gonna be up here over here as well, but you're paying for the personality, the proximity to the nature, and a strong sense of community. It's like Highland Park's cooler, more creative cousin, the one that went to art school but still had a strong credit score. And then we're gonna have Bishop Arts in Old East Dallas. If you ever say the word aesthetic out loud or care about things like artisan coffee and vintage markets, these might be your people over in this area, right? Bishop Arts has exploded with revitalization over the last decades, guys. It's hip, it's artsy, it's full of soul. You got the mural-covered walls, you get the indie bookshops, the chef-owned restaurants, and then weekend wine walks as well, guys. It's very Saturday farmers market meets craft cocktail at 7 p.m. But look, let me warn you real quick. This is one of those neighborhoods where one block feels like a magazine cover and the next feels a little too real. Look, gentrification is still underway in this area, so working with someone who knows these streets block by block is gonna be key. One wrong turn, guys, and your dream loft might be next to a boarded up building. So proceed with caution and have a savvy realtor at your disposal. Now, Old East Dallas, that follows a similar rhythm, right? Tons of character, tons of potential. This area really blends the grit of its past with the glow-up energy of new developments, guys. You'll find century-old Victorians next to new townhomes and long-standing dive bars across from sleek co-working spaces, right? It's diverse in every sense of the word, architecturally, culturally, economically. And if you're one of those buyers who really want in on an emerging neighborhood and don't mind something with a little bit of edge, this one is definitely worth a serious look. All right, now zooming out, let's talk bigger picture, right? Living in Dallas's inner ring is all about lifestyle and location. You're gonna be paying a premium, no doubt, but what you get in return is culture, convenience, and a city that feels alive. You're gonna be minutes from the high-end shopping, world-class dining, music venues, museums, and major employers, right? If you want a brunch at 11, then hit the DMA by 2 o'clock and be at a rooftop lounge by sunset, you can do it all without crossing 2 zip codes. But here's the real talk, guys. Don't go house poor trying to keep up with the park cities. It's easy to fall in love with these neighborhoods, but they come with a price tag, and it's not just the mortgage, guys. Property tax taxes, private school tuition, HOA fees, they all are gonna stack up quickly. And if you're spending every dime just to get your foot into the door, you won't have much left to enjoy everything Dallas has to offer. So if you're exploring the core of the city, right, do it with clarity, right? Understand your budget, know your non-negotiables, and be honest about the lifestyle you want versus the one Instagram makes look easy. Because Dallas, guys, it's got range. And if you do it right, it'll feel like home the minute you unpack. All right, so now let's zoom out just a little bit further, right outside the heartbeat of Dallas, and this is where things really start to get interesting. We've officially stepped into what I like to call the second ring of the city, right? Think of this as Dallas's outer shell of prestige, right? Still central, still highly desirable, but with a little more breathing room and a lot more variability. We're talking about places like Preston Hollow, the neighborhoods east of White Rock Lake, and a few under-the-radar luxury pockets that don't get name dropped unless you already plugged into the local scene. So first up, let's talk about Preston Hollow a little bit, right? Now, if Highland Park is where old money flashes a little bit of shine, Preston Hollow is where it retreats behind a gated driveway and relaxes. This neighborhood is the definition of understated affluence. You'll find massive estate homes like, did I just pass a hotel? Massive, tucked behind mature trees, private security gates, and winding driveways, right? Some of these properties come with home theaters, wine cellars, and private putting greens. Listen, I was working with one of our Los Angeles buyers and we were looking in this area, guys, and the closets in Preston Hollow, they're bigger than most people's first apartments. But look, don't let the Bentleys and the valet signs fool you. There's actually a spectrum over here, right? While the multi-million-dollar mansions dominate the narrative, there are entry-level luxury homes in the upper 600s to 700s that pop up on the MLS if you know where to look, right? But here's the key. You're gonna have to be quick when they come up because they don't come up that often. And I understand that's not exactly bargain bin pricing, but for this zip code, it's a starter kit. Preston Hollow is where legacy definitely meets opportunity, right? If you're someone who wants privacy, prestige, and the proximity to the city core without the constant buzz of Highland Park, this is a sweet spot worth considering. Now, as we slide just east over to White Rock Lake, guys, and the picture changes completely, right? This is where things get a little patchy, right? In a good way, though. You've got that classic gentrification energy. One street's a row of fresh modern townhomes with rooftop decks and built-in wine fridges. Turn the corner and suddenly you're back in a time capsule from the 1960s, complete with iron security gates and shag carpet vibes, right? It's what I call a block-by-block type of neighborhood, right? For the savvy buyers and investors, this area can be a gold mine, though, but only if you know what you're doing and where to look. If you buy on the wrong street, and you might find yourself in a renovation limbo with zero comps to support your vision. But if you buy smart, guys, you're riding a wave that's only picking up speed. And again, guys, this is exactly why working with someone local and honest isn't optional here. You need someone who doesn't just know Dallas, but knows this Dallas. The kind of insights that aren't going to show up on the Zillow listing or Google Street View. Because when you're investing in an area that's still transitioning, you're not just buying a house, guys. You're buying a forecast. All right, real quick, just let me throw up a yellow caution flag around northern Dallas, especially this Addison area that we're going to talk about next. Look, I know it looks great on paper. It's got the nightlife, the restaurants, quick access to the tollway, and all the apartments your heart could ever desire. But let's just be honest here. Much of this area is overbuilt, under-updated, and frankly, kind of stuck in 2008. It's really giving tech boom leftovers. You've got stretches where everything feels like a rerun. Same stucco builds, same granite countertops, same identical floor plans. If you're looking for the long-term equity growth, this isn't where I'd tell you to place your best bet, right? The rent-to-value ratio can feel a little bit off over here, and buying a single family here at premium pricing might leave you wondering where the lifestyle is to match it. But look, here's the bottom line, guys. The second ring of Dallas is where the real estate chess game begins, guys. You can absolutely win big here. You can find homes with soul, catch neighborhoods mid-ascension, even score a backyard and a skyline view. But if you shop based on Instagram vibes alone, that's going to be a fast track to regret. Guys, this zone is filled with contrast. Luxury estates next to teardowns, booming pockets next to stagnant ones. This is where street-level intel matters the most. So if you're thinking about planting roots in this part of the city, just know it's not about finding the hottest zip code every time. It's about finding the right block in the right zip code at the right moment. And trust me, that's where we come in. All right, so this next stop, guys, is going to be the sweet spot, the third ring of Dallas. This is where the magic really happens for a lot of buyers, especially folks looking to play the long game. These neighborhoods offer that perfect middle ground between affordability, lifestyle, and long-term value, right? I want you to think about Capel and Addison, the right parts, and then Carrollton, far north Dallas, and even Farmers Branch, right? This ring is going to be full of people who've done the research, guys. They're not chasing the hype, they're chasing smart, sustainable living. The schools are going to be solid, communities are established, and you could actually find a decent home without auctioning off a vital organ. All right, so let's start with Capel. If good schools are your #1 priority, this city deserves your full attention, right? Capel ISD has a reputation for academic excellence that rivals districts in way pricier zip codes. It's the kind of place where parents are involved, right? The PTA means business, and your kid's science project might actually involve a drone and real data. The housing stock over here is going to lean a little bit older, right? Late 80s and 90s construction, but these homes are well kept, and the neighborhoods have that lived-in tree-lined charm that new developments just can't match. You're not gonna find much new construction over here, and that's honestly part of the appeal. What you will find is a tight-knit community where neighbors know each other's names, right? Where block parties are a thing, and where Friday night football is basically a citywide event. This is gonna be about stability, plain and simple. And in today's market, that's the real estate gold. All right, so now let's swing over to Addison and Carrollton, right? Two of my personal favorites if you're a foodie or just someone who lives for variety, right? These areas are buzzing with diversity, right? If you walk into a random strip center, you might find Korean barbecue next to a Salvadorian bakery, across from a nice fuss spot, sharing a parking lot with a ramen food truck, right? And here's gonna be the best part of it all. A lot of it is actually good. Like, why haven't I ever heard of this place before good? Addison especially has this low-key nightlife energy, right? We're talking about craft cocktails, rooftop bars, even live jazz if you know where to look. Now, when it comes to housing, you will need to do a little bit more digging, guys. There's gonna be a mix of aging condos, renovated ranch-style homes, and the occasional modern townhome just sprinkled in for no reason. But if you have some patience, you can find some solid options under 500K, but in this market, that's not just rare, it's a gift. And then when we talk about far north Dallas and Farmers Branch, guys, these are gonna be total sleepers, right? These areas don't make the headlines or get flashy YouTube walkthroughs, but honestly, they should. They've got everything buyers say that they want, right? Lower crime rates, good schools, close access to major highways, and homes that won't break your bank. In this North Dallas area, you're technically still in the city, but the pace slows down just enough to feel suburban. Over in Farmers Branch, that's gonna be a little bit more under the radar, but in the recent years, guys, it's been quite on the rise. I want you to think about revitalized parks, updated infrastructure, and small local businesses that make the area feel really personal. These are the kinds of neighborhoods where your money stretches a little bit further, your commute is gonna shrink, and your stress level also drops. A lot of people really sleep on them because they don't have that Instagram sheen of trendier areas, right? But if you're buying for lifestyle and equity, this is smart money territory. So here's the bottom line. The third ring is the Texas version of the Goldilocks zone, right? Not too urban, not too rural, not too expensive, and not too far. It's where I send my clients who want that balance, right? Balance between location, lifestyle, and long-term financial health. You're still close enough to enjoy everything Dallas has to offer, but far enough out to skip the daily gridlock and the inflated price tags. These neighborhoods are the ones that have the roots, right? They're livable, they're loved, and they're where smart buyers build wealth without losing their sanity. All right, so now we're heading into what I like to call the next frontier of Dallas living, the fourth ring, right? This includes suburbs like Wiley, Murphy, Saxe, and everything stretching out towards that Lake Lavon corridor, right? If you're someone who craves suburban peace and quiet, but still wants to grab your Starbucks and hit a Target run without hopping on the freeway, this zone is your sweet spot, right? This is where affordability, modern living, and nature meet in a way that's getting harder and harder to find closer to the city core. These areas are exploding with growth right now, and for good reason, guys. They're gonna offer newer construction homes, larger lots, and prices that still make sense in this wild housing market. We're talking homes built mostly after 2015, nestled in master plan communities that are built with living in mind, not just surviving. This is where you're gonna think those resort-style pools, the walking trails that weave through wooded greenbelts, community playgrounds, the fishing piers, dog parks, and even neighborhood food truck nights. It's got that hey neighbor type of energy that just brings people together. And for my folks that want that lake lifestyle without sacrificing access to the grocery stores, the gyms, or a good school district, this is where the vision really starts to become real. So now let's talk a little bit about Lake Lavon, guys. This is one of the few areas in the metroplex where you can find homes that feel like mini retreats just minutes from the water, right? Whether you actually own a boat or just someone who loves a lakeside sunset, this area gives you room to breathe. Some of the communities here even offer lake access or elevated views from your own backyard, guys. That's not just a vibe, it's a lifestyle. You're gonna still be within reach of Wiley's Town Center or Murphy's shopping corridors, but with the kind of peace you can't get inside LBJ. But, and I'm gonna always keep it real with you guys, there's a couple of things to think about before pulling the trigger out here, right? First off, the school districts are in growth mode, right? Some campuses are already excellent while others are still catching up to the rapid population boom, right? So just don't assume, guys. They're improving fast, but you still need to pull up your own ratings and verify campus by campus. And while the drive into Dallas may look manageable on a map, just trust me when I say that the 25-minute commute can quickly turn into a 50-minute crawl depending on traffic, construction, or just a random Tuesday. So if you're working downtown every single day, you'll want to factor all this in. But with that being said, if your focus is on lifestyle and long-term vision, not just turning a quick profit, this area is gonna check a lot of those boxes, guys. It's perfect for families looking for room to grow, retirees who want that low-maintenance luxury lifestyle, or anyone who's tired of paying premium prices for homes that are stacked wall-to-wall in tighter neighborhoods. You're gonna get that balance, space without total isolation, affordability without compromising style, and access to nature without giving up your Instacart deliveries. The bottom line on this ring is Wiley, Murphy, Saxe, and Lake Lavon corridor aren't just suburbs. suburbs, guys. They're the start of something great. These areas really represent what Dallas suburbia will look like in the next 5 to 10 years. And if you're ahead of that curve, guys, if you're ahead of the curve, you'll thank yourself and me later, because I'm the one that put you on. Because right now, guys, it's not just about where you live, it's about how your life feels when you get home. And out here, it's just a feel-good story.
So I'm super excited to announce we just released our Reload Ready bundle. This is a bundle that gives you our knowledge of the metroplex, the best areas, best food spots, best schools, and overall what to expect. And lastly, we're going to give you access to our preferred property list. This is when builders have inventory that they need to move. They call and give us first dibs. These are going to be those discounted properties you won't find on Realtor or Zillow.com. So if you want exclusive access, click the link below, become a part of our inner circle where we say less and pay less. Now, back to the video you were watching.
All right, so now we've reached the outer ring of the Dallas metroplex, what I like to call the deep suburbs, right? We're talking about Prosper, Salina, Frisco, Little Elm, and if you're feeling a little bold, guys, or just want to stretch your dollar a little bit further, maybe even Van Alstyne. This is the edge of the map for a lot of folks moving to the North Texas area, right? Now, while it's gaining a lot of popularity fast, I've got to keep it real with you, right? Not everything out here is as shiny as it looks on social media. So let's start with Salina, right? Yes, it's beautiful. Rolling hills, shiny new homes, award-winning schools, and plenty of glossy master plan communities with all the bells and whistles. You're gonna get the clubhouses, you get the splash pads, the walking trails, even pickleball course if that's your thing, right? But here's the biggest problem. The pricing has gotten a little out of hand out here. We're starting to see these cookie cutter tract homes on 1/8 of an acre, and those are pushing $800,000 and up. And that's not custom. That's not even luxury, guys. That's just the going rate right now, and the secret's all out. People are flooding into Salina thinking it's the next Frisco, but here's the truth. Frisco didn't become Frisco overnight. It was built on job centers, corporate investment, tollways, and public infrastructure that took decades to develop. Now, Salina is going to be there, but you have to keep a long-term mindset. This isn't the area that you buy a house and sell in 3 to 5 years. This is the area that you plant roots and live there for 10, and then the amount of equity that you get will be life-changing. All right, so now let's talk about Prosper, right? Prosper shares some of that suburban shine, but it feels a little more anchored, right? It's still pricey, make no mistake about that, right? But there's a stronger sense of community already in place here. The roads are a little more developed, the shopping and the dining scene is starting to hit its stride, and there's at least some type of rhythm to the daily life that doesn't feel completely dependent on all the future growth, right? Now, with that being said, you're still looking at price tags that reflect what this area might be in 10 years, right? Not exactly what it's right now. You're paying the premium for the potential. And then when we talk about Van Alstyne, that's gonna be the wild card, right? If you're adventurous, if you're patient, or you're just plain fed up with the metroplex prices, this one is worth the look for sure, right? It's gonna be further out, right? Yes, it's out there, but it's also where you can still find the acreage, the character, and the quiet. This is gonna be Texas country inching towards suburbia, and it has the room to grow. But look, don't expect amenities on every corner or a Whole Foods 5 minutes away from your house, right? Out here, you're gonna trade convenience for the calm. And for some folks, that's exactly the right move, right? But look, here's the big picture truth of it all. If you're buying in the outer ring, you need to have a 5 to 10 year plan in mind. This is not the zone for the quick flip or a maybe I'll run it out later type of play, guys. These homes are lifestyle investments. You buy out here because you're ready to settle down, you're ready to build a life and let the neighborhood grow in around you. You're gonna be betting on that appreciation, but you're also betting on your own patience, right? So if you're shopping the outer ring because you saw a TikTok with drone footage of a sparkling new build, I want you to press pause for a second, okay? That content doesn't show you the traffic patterns, the school zone confusion, or the fact that your favorite restaurant might still be a 20-minute drive away. But if you're looking to plant roots, embrace the newness, and you've got the time and the temperament to watch your neighborhood really evolve, this can be a brilliant long-term play. Listen, guys, don't get distracted by the granite countertops and the builder incentives. Get focused on timeline and trajectory, right? Salina, Prosper, and even Van Alstyne can absolutely work, but only if you understand what you're buying into. These aren't move in and chill with us type of suburbs. These are build with us suburbs, right? And if that fits your season of life, then there's a lot of love for you out here. All right, and finally, let's zoom out one last time beyond the inner circles of the metroplex into what I like to call the speculative ring, right? This is gonna be the Dallas outer loop. We're talking about places like Melissa, Anna, Princeton, and some of the stretches beyond Rockwall, right? Areas where city limits start to blur and open land starts to dominate the view. It's quiet, it's spacious, and if you squint hard enough, you can almost see what these areas are gonna become a decade from now. This is where the roads are still being worked on to get wider, where the commercial hubs are coming soon, and where the master plan communities have glossy renderings but half-finished clubhouses. It's not just suburbia, it's suburbia in a beta mode. Now let me keep it real with you. This is high-risk, high-reward territory. If everything goes according to the city planner's vision, if the infrastructure gets built on schedule, if the schools rise in the rankings, if companies continue to sprawl outward from the city core, you could look like a straight-up genius in 5 to 10 years. Your property value might double, your quiet cul-de-sac might turn into a community centerpiece, and your family could be living large in a home that costs you half of what it would in Frisco. But here's the flip side of that coin. If growth slows down or shifts in another direction, you might be waiting 10 years just to break even. You could find yourself in a school district that's still up and coming, surrounded by fields that haven't turned into parks yet, and retail options that are mostly gas station and Dollar Generals. And I'm saying this just to let you know this isn't fear-mongering, it's just the reality of buying ahead of the curve. So the real question really becomes, how comfortable are you being early to the party? Now, for my remote workers, this ring can be a major win for you, right? You don't have to worry about the daily commutes, and you can often get a 3,000 square foot home for what you pay for a 2-bedroom townhome closer to downtown. Many of these new builds come loaded with space, upgrades, and the large lots, guys. And let's just be honest about it all. It feels good to stretch out a little bit when you buy these homes. If you're raising a family and want space for your kids to roam, or just a backyard big enough for a legit barbecue setup, these outer ring cities give you the most house for your money, hands down. But look, let's pump the brakes and talk lifestyle alignment, right? Because if your day-to-day needs to include things like trendy brunch spots, quick Target runs, and a 15-minute drive to work, you might burn out on the drive here real quick. We're talking about 45 minutes to downtown Dallas on a good day. And that's if you're not stuck behind a construction crew fixing one of those 2-lane country roads. And look, don't underestimate the social gap either over here, right? These aren't gonna be the buzzing cultural hubs yet, right? If you're someone who thrives on nightlife, last-minute dinner plans, or fast-paced energy, this might not be your forever zone. But with all that being said, there's a growing demographic of people, especially post-2020, who want the peace, privacy, and all the patience. And if that's you guys, if that's gonna be you, and you can handle the long game, then this outermost ring might be the real estate sweet spot for you. But you definitely have to be intentional about it. You're not just buying a home here, you're buying potential. You're betting that the developers, the city councils, and the population growth will all play out in your favor. And while that bet could play off big, right, it requires foresight, flexibility, and a lifestyle that supports the slower pace while everything catches up. Here's gonna be the bottom line for this area, right? This isn't where you come to flip a house. This is where you plant roots, where you play the long game. And if that matches your vision, your season of life, and your willingness to be early to the next hotspot, then the speculative ring might just be the smartest move for you to make. So what's the best move in Dallas? I mean, there really isn't one. It's all gonna depend on who you are, what you value, and where you're headed. But if this video gave you a much clearer lens to see Dallas through, right, then mission accomplished, right? Dallas is a city of micro markets, street by street, builder by builder, school zone by school zone. If you're buying here without the local guide, you're gambling. But with the right insights and strategy, you can find your dream home and skip the overpriced hype, guys. And if you're ready to take that next step, guys, it's time for us to have a conversation, guys. Feel free to reach out, right? All of our contact info's down there in the description and pinned to the top of the chat. And if you're still in that research mode looking for the perfect spot, then we created full playlists that you can binge watch, and you can check those out right there.